We are recording. I never know how to start these things. Welcome to the NuttyKnittySisters podcast, a podcast about knitting, spinning, and fiber-related creations. We're your hosts,
Julie
and Judith.
You can find us on social media as NuttyKnittySisters on Instagram, at NuttyKnittySisters on YouTube, and you can email us at nuttyknittysisters@gmail.com.
If you're watching for the first time, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and thanks for returning. We'd appreciate it if you'd click the subscribe button below so you don't miss any broadcasts.
Click that bell, you'll be notified as soon as new videos are loaded.
Now, grab your knitting, find a comfy spot,
And let's get a little nutty. Hi guys! Welcome back to another episode of the NuttyKnittySisters podcast. We've got some updates for you of what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. So really not a whole lot has been going on. I have kind of been busying myself with some new projects, which we'll talk about when we get to all the nuts. I've been sewing a little bit. I haven't sewn in a really, really long time, and I busted out the sewing machine, and I have a ton of fabric stash, and I just decided, you might, if you've watched in the past, you might remember from the Rhinebeck episode, I bought entirely too many project bags. I didn't have enough, and I solved the problem, but now I'm kind of like, I want more, but I want to make them. So I'm using all my stashed fabric and stuff, and kind of just making my own project bags. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into projects. So that's pretty much taken most of my time over the past week. Other than that, we've been winterizing, getting ready for cold weather here. We did some renovations on the chicken coop. We had a couple of stray dogs come and get into our chicken coop, got a couple of our chickens, and really destroyed the nesting box portion of our chicken coop. So we just took that right off the back of it, put a piece of wood over it just to get them through the winter, and now they're all snug as bugs and rugs for the winter. So we are ready, and it's a good thing because we got snow today. Not a lot, but it was white.
It was cold.
And it's cold. What was it when you got up this morning?
I don't think I looked. I
No?
didn't want to know.
It was like 34 when I went to work at 6 o'clock this morning, 6:30 this morning.
Yeah.
34 degrees.
I wonder what it is now.
It's probably stinking cold.
Well,
what
it is
probably
stinking cold, yes. I had to wear a hat, hence the hat hair.
27 degrees.
And feels like 18.
Yeah, I believe it. It was windy.
Mm-hmm.
Windy. So other than that, we had a death in my husband's family, so we did have a funeral on Saturday. Julie's going to talk about the Northeast Fiber Festival, which I was kind of gonna go with her, but definitely had to be there for the family, so she'll tell you about that because she went without me. And then the only other thing going on in my life is a little increased Nana duty. My daughter broke her ring finger on her right hand, and so she's a single mom, so it's really hard for her to kind of keep up with two toddlers all week long, so I'm kind of increasing my weekend Nana duties and laundry duty and things like that where she can't really lift and carry much. So that's been my life. How about you, Julie? What's your life all about?
What's my life all about? I don't know. The most fun in the past week was going to the Fiber Festival for sure.
Yeah.
So I'll have some talk about that. I have been fighting with a project.
She has been fighting with a project.
And it's just
but
my
she's
own...
gonna win.
I am. It's just my own attention to detail as I'm going. I'm learning little tricks along the way that are going to help.
I don't think you were as bad as you thought you were.
No. Well, the side, yeah, we'll get into it. It was kind of...
Oh, is that what is our frog? Well, you didn't really frog it. You kind of oopsie-daisied it.
Oh, no, I frogged
Well,
it.
you frogged some of it, you did. What's frog? The frog isn't moldy nuts, is it?
No, that's when we've put it in timeout, I think.
Oh.
We'll have to find out what the...
Oh, here we go.
Oh, yep.
Frog just chopped nuts.
Chopped nuts.
She chopped it.
Yeah, I chopped it pretty good.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah, but same things, just getting ready for winter. Making, I guess I made 2 trips this week down to Deer Isle to watch grandkids while Mom and Dad went and did something fun. Went out to eat.
What about your new endeavor?
Oh! The most exciting, and she forgot. I am going to be opening an Etsy store. It's not live yet, but I'm hoping it will be within the week. And I do have the name, so it's going to be called Julz, Julz Makes, and it's going to have stitch markers and different types of finished objects and
whatever tickles your fancy, right?
I like to make, so I kept the name simple so it could cover
whatever you make. Whatever Julz makes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So cool. I've been working on that the last couple days.
And I have test driven some of her stitch markers, and I love them. They're really nice. I love that they're I don't want to say simple. They're not simple, but they're just like easy to use. They're not
really
fiddly.
They're not fiddly. There's
fiddly.
not a lot to them, so there's not a lot to get caught on things. I probably will have more fancy progress keepers also, but the stitch markers, I know I just prefer that they're not too much dangly stuff and things like that from them.
Don't want them to
weigh
stuff down too much. Yeah, which I like. I like them. I like them a lot. Anything else?
I think that's it.
That's it.
I told you you're going to have to cue me today. So.
So beyond updates, what we've got in store for this episode is we do have some devoured nuts, or FOs, mixed nuts, WIPs, gathered nuts, new buys, crave nuts, our dreams, or things that might come later on. Nut dish is product reviews, and then we have a chopped we talked about. We're going to add that in. And then Julie's going to talk about the Northeast Fiber Fest. And I've got some shout outs for our new Ravelry group. So we'll jump in. Finished objects. Julie.
Oh no. Goose egg. Yeah. Etsy prep.
Etsy prep.
And driving to Western Mass.
Yeah. Yeah.
No FOs for me.
I do have FOs, but they're not grand. They are very small projects, very small things.
She always says this.
They are. Oh, I do have one major FO, but I don't have it. I did finish the Saints Rest New Brunswick shawl by Allison Barrett, but it was actually a sample knit for Done Roving Yarns, so we actually sent that with Julie to give to Paula at the Northeast Fiber Fest. So I will include a picture of it here where she had it on display at the Fiber Fest. I might put a video in here. I don't have her permission yet. So if I get her permission, the video will be here, and if not, it won't.
Where is Judy?
She is at a funeral today, so she couldn't come. I'm getting goosebumps.
Judy, it is perfect.
Isn't that gorgeous?
I love the center. I'm so glad she did that.
Yep. Got more of the green in that way.
Let's turn it.
Oh.
All of her hard work.
Oh. So pretty.
I love the span.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I can't.
Thank you, Judy.
So there was that, and that was such a fun knit. there were moments where I wanted to strangle myself with it, but it was a pretty good knit. I think the most challenging thing was with all of my big projects, when I get to that last quarter of the project, I get a little too confident. I start thinking, I got this, and then inevitably I mess something up because I don't got it. So that was the most frustrating, but I really wanted to get it done by the time the Fiberfest came around, and I was so pleased that I did. So there's that. And then my other thing is I think it's called the Year of Hats.
I think so.
I forget who puts it on, but I'll put it down below here. It's on Ravelry, and I added it at the beginning of the year, and they add a new hat pattern to your library every single month. And true to form, it's November, and I just finished March. So this is the March hat. And I intended to just use a lot of my like acrylic Lion Brand or Red Heart, a lot of my, yarn I don't use for anything else anymore, to do these hats just to get them done and over with. I want to try out the pattern, and I want to use up the yarn. This came out a lot bigger than I expected. It's a huge hat. Mm-hmm. I don't think I did the bottom right, the cast on. It was a different cast on. You used a waist yarn, and it's kind of like that provisional, not provisional, like the rolled tubular, yes. Yep. But it's tubular. It's a tubular cast on, and then when you're finished with the hat, you just rip out your waist yarn, and that's it. It just makes this rolled edge kind of. So here it is.
I thought that's the way we did something by Andrea.
There was a rolled. There was the tubular cast on
the shift along hat.
Yes.
Yeah.
But hers wasn't provisional. It didn't have the waist yarn in it. I wasn't really sure what the purpose of the waist yarn was. Ah. Because at the end, you literally just pulled the waist yarn out. So I don't know whether it was just to make it looser on the edge or what, but it's kind of a big floppy hat. I didn't gauge swatch. Shocking. If I had, I probably could have gone down a needle size and gotten a better sized hat.
I like that on you.
It's big.
I like it on you.
All right. It's going to go in the hat box, so anybody who comes to my house who's missing a hat and has a cold head, there you go. Those will be in it. My second FO is my, I have it listed as Lincoln mitts, but it's Dylan mitts. So these are my Dylan mitts. This is kind of a modification of two patterns. So the pattern on it, the actual Norwegian star pattern, is from the Heritage Farm. Is that it? Maritime Farm.
I think it's Maritime Farms.
Maritime Farms. I'll put it below. So this is their chart, and I actually did it on the inside of the mitten too. This is their chart, but they didn't have any kids' sizes in their pattern. So I went on Ravelry and I found a children's mitten number something or other. Children's Norwegian mitten something or other. I'll put it down here. So that was kind of for the sizing and the afterthought thumb, but the color, when it came to the color work, instead of using the Norwegian one, I used the Maritime Family
Fiber.
Family Fiber, yeah.
Yep.
So that's them. They are knit in, it's a discontinued Dun Roving Jacob wool yarn. The cuffs got a little away from me on one. I didn't have the other mitten in the project bag, and I apparently measured 3 inches, ½ inch longer on one than the other. So it is what it is. They're done. So there they are. That's Dylan's mittens. What else? The only other finished object I have is one of my bags. So I told you I was making I was doing some sewing. So this is from a tutorial I found on YouTube, and I'll link down below here. I'll link the video reference. It's slightly modified because I'm using a lot of fat quarters or, squares of fabric that I got decades ago. So the top on the tutorial is usually a little taller. It's usually 5 inches. And I just used what I could until I ran out of fabric. So mine are a little smaller, but it's got a nice lining on the inside. Some little handles. Shoestring jaw. So it's just a cute little, there's no interfacing or anything, so it's very squishy, very, you can roll it up and put it in your pocket. So I like it. Super fun and easy to make. The tutorial is so well explained. And I have probably 30 other styles cut or auditioned. So yeah. But this started last Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last Friday, my mother came over and Julie and my mom helped. Well, Julie sewed. My mom and I got to do the pretty stuff and, pick pretty fabrics to go. And Julie made this amazing little bag. So it's nice and deep. It's got great boxed corners. Really pretty orange inside. And it's rolled to the out. I love it. I've got a project already. I had to pull it off with got a project in there already. That's the shawl I'm going to make for Nita Spa.
Yep.
So that's what we did last Friday.
Yep.
Was Julie sewed and I played with all the rest of my fabric. And I think that's it for my FOs. That's
You
it.
whipped my butt.
One of them was yours. Julie gets credit. Julie gets credit for one FO. I just happen to have it.
Oh. I did stitch markers. Why did I not bring stitch markers to show?
Right?
Oh.
Silly. And I don't have any.
What did I do? Oh, I have. Yeah, I do actually.
I think I have some of your stitch markers here.
I think you're right. I think I do have a little stash.
We're not sisters or
Not
anything.
at all.
Yes, I do have some of yours.
Do ya?
Yes.
Yay. I think I have a couple in here, maybe. Why? Never mind. Do I have a project I'll ever use this many all on at once?
I know.
No.
But with all the project bags I have, I do find I'm running out of stitch markers because I put little notion bags in each project.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, so I'm going to need more stitch markers.
I only have 2. What's up with that?
Oh, I got more. I think I've lost one in the couch somewhere. It'll turn up. One like that.
Oh, okay. Yep.
It'll turn up.
Yep.
So
Yeah, this is going to be hard to see, isn't it?
this is one. It's probably one of my favorite.
Whoops!
All
But
right.
when they drop on a solid surface, don't those ones roll?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They really roll.
So there is that one. This is probably one of my favorites to use.
I like the weight of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I like these on socks because they're nice thick gauge wire. So it kind of, I don't know if that's coming in. It kind of, the stitches don't jump over it.
Yeah.
So I do like that one. And then this is similar. But this one kind of jingles. That one kind of jingles a little bit. There it is. Oh, they're really cute. And there it goes. Rolling, rolling, rolling.
They're great little rollers.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, and then I've got a couple of, I think one of yours has those. So that's got the little sparkle, and that one's on a silver ring. And then this one's the silver ring with a little blue.
I think I have
blue.
one of those too, but
Yeah, it's kind of hard to
probably in the
see, but
couch.
it's like a clear bead, but it's lined with blue.
so if somebody vacuums out my couch before I get to rescue my stitch markers, I'm going to be very mad.
I think you can get more stitch markers pretty easily.
I know, but
you know where the source is.
I know, but like anybody's going to vacuum in my couch but me. Let's be honest. A girl could dream.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm not going to hold my breath. So that's your FOs. See, you had FOs and you just didn't admit it. She just give herself enough credit. So, mixed nuts, which is our whips. They're mixed up, ready, wanting to get devoured.
Oh, yeah.
What do you got for whips, Julie? I'll let you.
I did not bring
first.
all of my whips because there's only 5 more at home.
What? And you didn't bring them?
No, I didn't bring them.
We have to talk about them.
Yeah. One of them's been a whip for almost 2 years.
Oh, well, that's not a whip then. That is
That's a moldy nut.
That's a moldy. That's in time out. Yeah. Oh, your vest?
My vest.
This thing's on a mannequin and it has like this much left to go.
Yeah. It maybe has 5 inches left.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part is it's on a huge needle, like a size 13 needle. You do 1 row in a 13, then you do the next row in like a 6. So
you could have it done in like 3 hours.
I've just so lost interest in it.
Just get it done.
I know.
You'll feel so good when you get to bring an FO next time.
Okay, I'll try for next time.
Comment below. Comment below. Support Julie. Give her some love.
What else do I have? I have a sock. I have a second sock I need to do.
Second sock syndrome is a
Yep.
thing.
I have 2 shawls that are moldy nuts.
What shawls are they?
Philomena.
Which I'm wearing mine.
Yes.
She's beautiful. Just finish her.
Made me very, very mad.
I know. She got really mad. She's as mad with her Philomena as I am with my feather and fan.
Oh.
My feather and fan might just... What do we do when we rip them out? I might chop that sucker.
That might be a chopped nut.
You can't chop Philomena, though. It's the Yarn Cruise
I know.
MCal. You have to finish it.
I'm just going to have to whip it into shape.
There you go.
And the other one is the Ziggy. That kind of got put on a back burner because I had a test knit and a sample.
Did you... I know you had cast that on in like a black yarn.
Yeah, I switched to gray. The black was
You
killing my
completely
eyeballs.
frogged that one, right?
Yeah.
And you switched to gray, but you didn't finish. I love that shawl.
Yeah.
That is like... That's probably my most frequently used... I thought my fade would be, but the Ziggy is the one I use most
I
often.
get it done because I want to do her storm shawl.
Yeah.
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 And then her Alejandra that just
And
came
a gray
out.
one, a gray shawl goes with everything.
Yes.
And that shawl is just the right amount of fancy, but it's got those wide garter bands that make it a good casual shawl too. You need to finish it.
Yeah. And I have one other. Oh, the Boyd hat for the... Did you?
I just don't have time to do it. I don't.
Yeah.
I hadn't really committed to doing it, so
Yeah.
I'm bailing. Wow. I know. I got all these little flippin' mittens to do. Those little suckers. They
This
hurt
is
your
the one
hands.
that's taking my time. That
Yeah.
is my focus. Trying so hard to get it done. But I have to be honest. I came over here crying on her shoulder tonight because I had to chop frog 24 rows.
Ouch.
24 rows. But I'm back on track now. I think I know what I was doing.
It's so pretty.
It is. It really is pretty when you see the lace and everything. It's going to be very pretty.
I love the
center
color.
panel there. It's kind of hard to see, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I love.
And this is a new new colorway for done roving.
Yeah.
It's the summer gooseberries colorway. So done roving is going to be at Vogue Knitting Live in New York. I'll get it wrong.
Saints Rest, New Brunswick shawl.
Will be at Vogue Knitting.
I'm gonna have a project thing at Vogue Knitting. I'm
And
so
Hell or
excited.
High Water, this will also be at Vogue Knitting. It will. My hope is that launching the Etsy store won't take all of my time this week, and then maybe next weekend I'll be making a road trip to Charleston to deliver. I hope.
Yeah, because I've got to do some shopping down in there.
Yeah.
So when you make that trip.
Oh, speaking of which, I talked with her about a thought that I have, because if you've done the Deliverance Charlie, you know, and if you don't, I'll give you the kind of fair warning. I think we might have talked about it in the last podcast about dividing the yarn.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was kind of fiddly to me and almost put me off when I was reading through the pattern. I'm like, I gotta do what? I mean, it wasn't hard to do. It was just a fiddly thing that I really, didn't really want to know if I wanted to mess with. So I passed a thought off to Paula and said, what if we were to try doing it with just one of the monochromatic gradient cakes, start right in the center, just knit all the way through that one, and then whatever that outside color is on the gradient cake, have a solid 500 yard matching that colorway.
Oh.
I'm kind of curious to see what the effect would be.
Yeah.
Just to knit the shawl that way.
Yeah.
So.
She might be making a specific, like a Deliverance gradient cake.
I don't know if it'll be a gradient cake. I never thought of that. We could just do a 1,000 yard cake.
Yowza.
No, I think it'll be the gradient cakes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then another cake that is just the outside color.
It's just like a solid.
Yeah, whatever the outside color is from the gradient.
Interesting.
I thought it was kind of interesting. And I said I love
think
to test it.
I think we definitely had an experience pulling the inside of
with
that
mine?
cake out. Yeah. I think if we'd had a scale,
Yes.
we were at Rhinebeck and she was desperate to cast that sucker on.
Yeah.
So we didn't have like a scale or anything. We were just like eyeballing it.
Yeah.
And didn't we end up with a yarn ball?
Well, I figured you get this big gradient cake, and it says don't use up to but not over half of the cake. So I said, well, if I stick my fingers down in the cake at less than half and just pop that inside out, that should work, right?
We had a hot mess. Well, she had a hot mess. I went to sleep.
What a tangle. And I love to untangle things. You
I'm
give me
a
a tangled ball of yarn, tangled necklaces, stuff like that. Love it. I'll tell you, what did I spend? Like at least 3 hours.
Oh, God,
at least
yeah.
3 hours.
Yeah.
And it ranks as the worst tangle I have ever done. But I did it.
She did it. She did it. I didn't witness it. I think she got the cat to do it, personally. Sandy's cat.
Yeah. You bet.
But if we had a
scale,
like a kitchen scale that we could have done,
Yep.
weigh it, pull, wind
Yep.
until it got down to, I think it would have been easier.
It would have.
Yeah. But I can't wait to get down. When you go turn that in, I can't wait to go with you, and I'm going to pick out a colorway, a gradient cake colorway, and I'm going to do that shawl.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
She already put mine aside. So.
She did?
Yes. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, I want to get 2 gradient cakes because I want to do the Deliverance, and then there might be another sweater. I might have to do another sweater. I have to get sweater quantity of yarn while I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love getting sweater yarns, but I just haven't knit any. I'm going to have a blast this winter when obligation holiday knitting is over with. So is that your WIPs?
That's my WIPs.
Why did I have Saints down here? That's not a WIP. That was a... Anyways. So my WIPs. I only have 2 because, again, holiday knitting. I love knitting for the family. I do. It's just because it's obligation.
Yes.
It's only an obligation in my own mind, but so I have the same thing that I did for Dylan. Whoops, there we go. The same thing that I did for Dylan, I'm doing for Lincoln. And I tried these on, and they thankfully both wear the same size. So I made these for Lincoln. They're just the opposite colors of his sisters. Obviously I have to weave in. And then this one I'm still working on the thumb. This thing. So there is an oopsie daisy on this mitten. On the bottom here, you're supposed to have 4 of these little crosses across the bottom of each of the color work. Somehow, I did 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then my space to the next color. So his is wonky.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice it until I got up here.
Oh.
And I'm not doing it. So chances are Mom will wash and dry these mittens and they'll end up fitting the Barbie anyway. So
Yeah.
it's okay. And then this mitten I got up here to where I was putting on the last of the little crosses and realized I hadn't put my waist yarn in for my thumb. So I had to rip all the way back and put in my waist yarn for my afterthought thumb.
Boy, we've both had some chopped nuts, haven't we?
Yeah. I get going along and I'm so excited. Oh, I finally got to the color chart and I just new. Oh, whoopsie. Rip it. I'm going to make these same mittens for the adults, but I'm going to use a different yarn. I might use the same yarn for Samantha's. I don't know. She might wash and dry them though. I don't know. But I'm not going to put the color work in the center, like on the palm.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. But I'm not. I'm only doing the color work on the back of the hand. So that's one. And then my other WIP, my only other WIP that I'm working on, this one goes back and forth to work with me because it's great car knitting. There's a lot of construction a town over from us between home and work. So if I get stuck in construction, I pull out the socks. I do have one done. So these are going to be for Michael. Bruin's color socks. I'm going to put in an afterthought heel somewhere in here because he's got monster feet. But he doesn't like socks that are too tall. So I think his foot is going to be like there. So it won't be too tall. Now, the yarn I'm using for these is Biz Sock by Les Lanes. And I've still got the price tag on there, but that's the sock. And this is the, that's the yarn rather. And this is the colorway, Boston. So I love the sock yarn. It is super, super soft. Oh, I love it. I got to the cuff and I tried to make the cuff with the same stripes, but with a ribbing, changing colors. Yeah. Like you had your little blips that come through and I couldn't knit around and then do my ribbing because by the time I got done, by the time I did a knit round so that you wouldn't have your blips and I did my ribbing round, it was changing colors again. So I was like knitting around every other row and it was not working out. So I went to Heavenly Sock, my local yarn store, and I picked up, I just asked them, I was in a hurry. It was the day I took my daughter to the hospital with her broken hand. So we just gotten done to the hospital. I was on my way home. This was on the needles to here. I needed to put a cuff on. I'm like, I'm going to run in the yarn store. I'm going to grab some black yarn. I'm coming right back out. So I just ran in. I said, I need black sock yarn quick. And this is what I got. So it's called Wildfoot Luxury Sock Yarn. The price was right. I think it was like $7. Black Orchid is the colorway by Brown Sheep Company in Mitchell, Nebraska. I'm going to be honest, I don't care for it.
Really?
I don't care for the yarn. It's almost a chain ply, and it was super splitty.
Oh, I can see. Yeah, it's a different.
Super, super splitty. It's a little bit rougher, if you feel that, compared to that.
Yeah, it's definitely rougher than that yarn.
Which I don't mind, like the feel of the yarn, but to knit it,
it's like a kinky twist. It is plied, but it's a real kinky
it's a weird,
twist.
yeah.
It looks like it's hard to see unless you have a background behind it, but yeah, it looks like a chain ply till you untwist it.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't care for it.
Huh. And it's a 3-ply, right?
Yeah.
But it's
it is a sock weight.
But usually 3-ply is not sock yarn.
Yeah.
Usually 4-ply is. maybe there's 4 there, but it looks like 3.
I didn't like it. It was super splitty. Like knitting the ribbing wasn't too bad. It's, I was catching splits here and there, but I do a Jenny's super stretchy bind off on the top of my socks because I like a nice stretchy. I don't want it to, bite into my flesh.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous to try to do that bind off.
Oh, huh.
Because you know how you yarn over kind of backwards, then you knit one, and then you pass over your yarn over and your last knit stitch.
Oh, I gotta show you an easier one.
Oh, I do it the Andrea way.
Super stretchy. And
You're
you're basically just knitting 2 stitches together. It's so easy. So easy.
You'll have to show me.
Yes.
I use the Jennies because, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I've done it on a couple of other garments. It is super stretchy.
Yeah.
And I use the method that is in Andrea Mowry's tutorial, which is really, it works great, but not for this yarn. Not for this yarn.
Yep.
So I've got this much done of my second sock, and I use these little tiny circulars to just go round and round and round, and then I'll have to put in my heels. So that's my second WIP, and I'm loathing doing another cuff with that yarn.
That's interesting. I've never seen that spin.
Yeah.
That ply structure. That's really, really different.
Yep. I thought I had some done roving. I have like a whole thing of
Oh, yes,
these
you
little
should.
things.
Well, it's not a solid, it's a tonal. Yeah.
I have a lot of these.
Oh, yeah, the mini skein bin.
Paula does a mini skein bin where you buy them by like the weight,
Yeah.
the pound or the ounce or whatever.
You can get so many ounces for $10 or something.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I get a lot of those. I dig through and I find ones that are either fun, like this, that I can throw in any little project, or I'll get solids or tonal like ones that I can use for heels, toes, and cuffs. But I didn't have any black. The only one that I had that was black was borderline lace weight, and it was a lot of nylon content, so it just wouldn't have worked for these socks. So I did that, and I regret it. So that's that. There's my WIPs. I think that's it for my WIPs. Yeah, that's all I'm working on.
Except project bags.
And project bags, yeah, which we already showed, right? Yes. So next is new buys or gathered nuts. What do you got for new buys, Julie?
Oh, I do have a
Julie
little
has
bit.
a lot of new buys. I'm gonna knit my sock now.
I could have had a lot more, but I went to a fiber festival and I did not buy any yarn or any fiber.
Call the doctor. She's sick.
I had to have been sick. I think I was actually just still on overload from Ryan.
Yeah.
And my budget was still recovering probably too.
I've been to my LYS, and the only yarn I've got is the black that I needed. And I went today, and I got no yarn. I looked because there was a specific yarn I was looking for, which we'll get into the dreamy nuts or whatever. What do we call dream nuts? Craved
nuts. Yes.
Yeah, but I think I'm still on overload too. And I know how many projects I already have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I got to work through what I got.
Yeah.
So the first one is a surprise for you too. So we had our little mascot, our little Nellie the gnome that went with us to Rhinebeck.
Did you put more beads in her butt?
No, not yet. But she went to the Northeast Fiber Festival too.
She did?
And
Nellie, you went without me?
she did. And she never fell over once.
That's because you were driving.
Because I stuffed her up against the windshield.
Oh!
That's the trick.
I thought maybe you put a seatbelt on her.
But she did get a little adornment from the Northeast Fiber Festival. So she now has a label for her scarf from Katrinkles.
Oh, how cute. It's a little gnome.
It's a little gnome.
I love it.
So she has a little adornment.
Oh, she's going to have to get one at every event now.
Oh, my. She's got to have her own little pin collection.
Yes. Yes.
Oh boy.
Nellie's gonna have her own little. Yeah, she's gonna have something.
Each event that she
every
goes
event.
to, she's got to have.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I will have to. This was another Katrinkles. I didn't bring all my Katrinkles. I did get a couple of other things, but I didn't bring them all. But I didn't.
Did you get some at Northeast?
I did.
You did?
Because you got the sheep breeds, the
Yes.
Rhinebeck sheep breeds, and I finally got my set. It's not
Oh,
gonna show up very
neat.
good, probably, but anyway.
Are they the
there's-
Rhinebeck ones?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, she had. I got the last one that she had at Northeast Fiber.
Nice.
Yeah. So 6 stitch markers, and each one is a different breed. So you've got. Oh boy, this is the trick here.
Yeah. Excuse me.
This is Jacob. I don't. You probably won't be able to see him, but that's Jacob. And we have. Nope, that wasn't Jacob. I'm a liar. I'm a liar. There's Jacob. That's the one. That's got the horns. So that was not Jacob. That was.
Don't ask me.
Oh boy, that one's gonna have to be the last one. Okay, that one is Valet's black nose. Valet's black nose. I think that's what it is. Then we have.
Is that Gotland? Is there
Border luster. That one's border luster. If I can get the luster, then I can get the rest of it. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so shaky, and it is not gonna focus.
Here. Nope.
Nope. Okay,
Nope, it's not.
take my word for it. That one is border luster. This one is Gotswold. Kinda. Polworth. Kinda. That's a chubby one.
That must mean that one's Shetland. I think mine said Shetland. I think I have one that's.
Oh, yes,
Shetland.
yes.
Is that
You're right.
Shetland?
I think that's Shetland. That would make sense. Okay. So, yeah. It's that set of 6. So, she might have to have one of those because she didn't get one from Rhinebeck.
No, she didn't.
Okay. And then another little Katrinkles thing. This is really cool. I've been wanting one of these.
Oh, neat.
It's got the lamb on it.
I love it. It's so cute.
And it's a magnet.
Oh,
a pin holder.
neat.
So, I need a stitch marker. Anyway, your pins stick to the front of it. So I use the bulb stitch markers a fair amount.
Yeah.
So if I need it, I can just kind of magnetize it in my shirt and put my stitch markers right where they're
love
handy.
it.
Yeah, I really
Or on
like
your
that.
sleeve. If you
Anyway,
got a long sleeve. Yeah.
anywhere. So I had to have one of those.
Awesome.
And then I got some of her little tiny tags. I got a couple of little tiny hearts because I wanted to put something in the back of my super simple summer sweater so I could tell the front and the back without having to look at the width of my rows.
Yep.
And then I got another heart one for someone's project. And I got, I got one has an anchor on it. One has, I think maybe a snowflake. And I have another one, but I don't remember what's on that one. So, yeah, I got some.
And those are the leather
Katrinkle things.
ones?
Nope,
No,
those are
those
the
are the
wooden
wooden
ones. Yep. That was my Katrinkles.
I still haven't put my Rhinebeck sweater one in my weekender. Have you put yours
No.
in Hobie?
It's going to go in with my little back of the sweater marker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Then we have, I love this. This is Livestock Company, Long Island Livestock Company. And I usually get their Shepherdess Balm, which comes in a little tin. But this time I got their Shepherdess Body Butter.
Ooh.
This one is Honey Almond. I think they had 5 different scents there.
I need to smell it.
I usually get their coconut Shepherdess Balm.
Oh my!
Yeah, it's really honey almond.
Oh, the almond.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
So this one is it's a butter. The one I usually get is like almost straight lanolin with little pieces of coconut oil in it.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very moisturizing. I usually put it on my hands at night and my heels at night. And the next morning, I'll tell you, soft.
Yeah. I bet. Lanolin.
But they had a show special.
That smells so
Doesn't it?
good.
They had a show special. And the soap, I hadn't seen their soap before. So if you bought the body butter, the soap, a lip balm, and the shepherdess salve, you got it for a special show price. Well, my mom went with me. And my mom can pinch a penny. So she didn't want to spend that price. And so I told her, well, if you want to split it, that's 4 items. You choose 2 items and I'll take 2 items and we'll split it. She was all about that.
My mom's like crazy with the deals.
Yep. So she took the lip balm and the salve, and I took the soap and the body butter. And this soap, this is a scent I hadn't seen that they had before. It's called Sea Glass, and it's got Long Island sand in it. So the bottom layer here actually has Long Island sand in it for exfoliation.
Neat.
And smell that.
Oh, that smells like a summer day at the beach.
Mm-hmm. Nice and clean.
Oh my
and fresh
gosh,
and,
yes.
love it. So yes, if you're anywhere near, let's see, I think they are in Long Island, hence the name.
Excuse me.
Yeah, they have a website, www.lillivestock.company. So it's L-I-L. And
We'll put it below.
Yeah, we'll put it below. They, their products are really good. I can attest.
Gosh, I've got to get me some of that honey almond
the body butter.
yumminess. Oh my goodness.
And there was another little vendor there. I just tucked my purchase in Mom's bag, so I didn't get the card and everything. I don't remember the name. I think I had it on my phone, but I don't think I do anymore. Anyway, they had a bunch of soaps, and you know how Mom loves soaps.
Mm-hmm.
So she got a whole bunch of soaps, and I have homemade soaps that our sister Janine made soaps.
Yeah.
So I have some of hers and different handmade soaps.
Good Karma.
Good
I have a ton of Good Karma soaps.
So any of those kind of soaps you want to not let sit in water because they just melt and go away fast.
Turn into jello.
Yeah. So I was due for a new soap dish. So they had some
I love
nice
those.
soap dishes there.
I need to get me some.
Yep. So that will work well for my sea glass soap.
Mm-hmm.
Make it last longer. What else did I get? Oh yes. Oh, this was cute. This was at a booth. They are beeswax votive candles, and it was at a booth called Sheepskins and More, and it was such a cute setup. They had all of the sheepskins on all kinds of racks. That was Mom and Dad's biz. They did the sheepskins, and then the kids had a table of their own. They do
cool.
beeswax candles.
Oh, neat.
And it was so cute. They did the ones that are like the honeycomb hand-rolled beeswax candles. They had the votives. They had the tea lights. And the sister does these gorgeous wax castings. She takes the beeswax and pours it in a casting. And then when it comes out of that casting, she had a big, beautiful one there that was like reminded me of like a Amish country farm scene.
Oh, neat.
Everyone in the like pilgrim dress and things like that. And he held that up to a light behind it, and it just glowed. You could see
neat.
those designs so well through that beeswax. And their little corner of that booth, just smelled. Oh, smells heavenly.
Oh, very. You can smell,
You can smell the honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. So I was really happy to support their little business.
Absolutely. It's like
Cutest
getting
little
lemonade
kids.
at the lemonade stand.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And who doesn't like beeswax candles?
Right.
I love them. And then let's see. Oh, then there's a booth that's I don't know. I think it's a lot of the festivals. I've seen it. It's Bitsy Knits and More, I think is what it's actually called. There's their label on their goodies. And this label is on an Angora Pom Pom.
Ooh.
And it's in a bright pink color, so It's going to be a Kinsley Pom Pom.
Oh.
It's going to go in a Kinsley hat.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
cute.
It's so puffy and fuzzy. And if I can find it, there it is. Theirs have a little elastic.
Oh, neat. So you can just put a button at the top of the hat.
Yep. You can put the button on, and
Nice.
then you can take your pom pom off when you
you
need to wash it. Yep.
Nice.
And I was saying, Gora, feel that thing.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That is like a kitten's elbow.
Mm-hmm. They had such bright, beautiful colors. They were really cool. Could have gone crazy, but I restrained myself.
Yeah.
And they also had another cool little thing there. I like all of the nifty little needle holders.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had the chibi, which is fine, but it's plastic. Plastic cracks, plastic breaks, and then the lid doesn't stay on very well.
Yep.
So I keep watching for wooden needle holders. I had an old Singer sewing machine that hidden in one of the drawers was an old antique wooden needle holder. So I've got that one. And then I found one on the yarn cruise. We were at Halcyon.
Yes.
Halcyon. And they had some nice ones. They weren't antique or anything, but they were nice, well finished, smooth, nice needle holders. And they were really long, so they could take the real big needles. And then at Bitsy Knits, they had these gorgeous ones. This is sandalwood. This is sandalwood. And it has a brass collar. And it screws on.
Oh, how nice.
And it's lined in brass as well.
Love it.
So it will hold... I've only got 2 needles in it right now, and there's plenty of room.
Yeah.
I could put a lot more needles in there. So, very smooth finish and everything. That'll be a nice heirloom. That'll last a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then final.
Oh, the piece de la resistance.
Yes, and I didn't get a card. I didn't actually see a card. He may have had, but I didn't see it. Talked to a guy that he was so much fun to talk with. He used to go around to the New England mills that spun yarn. And he had all sorts of lamps and candlestick holders, different things that he has made out of old bobbins from the mills. And he also had a couple of bowls of just the bobbins. My mom actually got one that was from one of the Skowhegan mills here.
Oh, wow.
And he told her, he knew exactly when she picked it up. He goes, "Oh, that's from the Skowhegan mill."
It's kind of like us with our yarn.
Yes.
All this, and I know where I bought every skein of it.
Yeah. And he told me this one is from England. He didn't know what mill, but he said, "I know that one came from England." So that was kind of cool. And then these were, he had mostly these types. So I would say these maybe aren't quite as old. Maybe these are some newer type ones. But yeah, they're just really, they're really neat. And they were like $3. I just got them so that I can put them on a shelf decoratively. I thought they were really neat to go with my yarn.
We'll have to do some research, and if we can find him, we'll put his information underneath.
Yeah, I think probably if I look at my Northeast Fiber
receipts
flyer.
Oh, yeah. It'll
the,
spark a...
Yep. I'll be able to pick him out then.
Yep.
And that was all my goodies.
That's your... All right. I don't have anything. Like,
You got the black yarn.
the black yarn, yeah. The black yarn.
The black yarn.
Yeah. The only other thing I did was this was actually an acquisition today.
Oh, yeah.
Every Friday I take my grandson and my daughter to a doctor's appointment, and Dylan and I get to go spend an hour while they do their appointment. We get to go spend an hour together. And usually it's a morning appointment, but I've started working Fridays again, so now they're going in the afternoon. We used to go to the farmer's market in the morning, and now that we're going in the afternoon, we didn't really have anywhere to go. So, of course, we're going to go to the yarn store. So we went today and we picked out buttons. And after 35 minutes of looking at planes, trains, automobiles, dragons, fairies, flowers, and all the things, we finally decided on some buttons. I want to make some cardigans for Lincoln and Dylan. We keep our house a lot colder, a lot cooler than their house is. So we don't want them to get too cold. But I also don't want to turn up the heat. Well, it's expensive.
That's yarn I'm throwing out the chimney.
I tell Mike, put on a pair of pants, put on a sweater. So I've got to make sweaters for my grandkids. I made them some pullover sweaters for Christmas, but I'd like to get them some, like, just throw on cardigans. So I figured buying the buttons first, I can match the yarn to the button rather than buying the yarn, making the sweater, and then trying to find a button to match, right? So Dylan helped me pick out buttons, and she picked out this one for her. It's a purple sparkle button, and she picked out a silver sparkle button for her brother.
Now I can see you finding stash for the silver.
Yeah, the purple is not going to happen, though.
I think it's going to work the same way as making the sweater to find the button. You now have the button. You got to find the yarn for the sweater.
I know. It's true. It's so true. So I think that's it for WIPs, or mixed nuts and gathered nuts. Craved nuts. What have you got that you're dreaming of or that you're wishing to do next? If Deliverance were done, what would you be doing?
I would be finishing up some WIPs.
Some of the things you already got on.
It bothers me because I started out as a monogamous knitter. And then
Now I'm more monogamous than her. She is.
Yeah.
I used to be. Well, I mean, I still have things, but they're not started yet.
Yes.
I just have them in project bags.
I have that too. But now WIPs is out of control. So, yes. After Deliverance, it's...
How many WIPs do you actually have, like, on needles going right now?
5.
I have... 2. Are we counting moldy nuts?
I did.
I have 5.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
We're pretty good.
Well.
The moldy one I don't count, though, because I'm probably going to frog her.
No! If I have to finish my moldy nut, you have to finish yours.
Your moldy nut is like 4 inches away. My moldy nut is 4 inches done.
Well, see? Yin yang.
Lord have mercy. If I frog her, I will reknit her. Because when I first started, it's a feather and fan shawl. It's more like a feather and fan scarf or wrap. It's literally just feather and fan, like a long strip, until it's a shawl and a cake.
Oh, okay.
I think it's by Lion Brand.
Oh, shawl and a ball?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
But when I started it, I didn't really know what feather and fan was, and since I did the Philomena, it's got a little more feather and fan in it. And there was another project I did. Oh, my skirt.
Yes.
My skirt was like a lot of feather and fan. And stitch markers are your friend. With feather fan. And that shawl has no stitch markers on her at all.
So take back 1 row and put in stitch markers.
I'm going to frog the whole thing. Oh. Because it's just so messed up, Julie. You have no idea. If I brought this thing out, you'd be like, what? You'd know. Ugh. I've got feathers where there should be fans and fans where there should be feathers.
So maybe yours is a feather
Fanther?
fan feather?
It's a fanther.
Oh, it's a fanther.
It's a fenner fanther.
Okay.
Oh, Lord. I swear it's just tea. Yeah. So, you can't rip out your whole vest. You can't frog that.
No, I'm not frogging that. No.
I do solemnly swear, if I rip her out, I will reknit her properly.
Recorded.
Properly.
Recorded.
I will. So you would just do your WIPs. You don't have any, like, dream project. If you didn't have any WIPs, what would you do?
If I didn't have any WIPs at all, I would either be starting the Storm Shawl by Hohi, or what's the other one? There's one that came out in between. There's Storm, there's another one, and then there's Alejandra that just came out. So one of those three would be the next in line.
I'd be doing my Fern and Feather by Jen Steingass. Yep. But I'm waiting on another skein of yarn, perhaps, maybe, potentially. I'm going to swatch it. Nanny Swaymo is this month. So
I had never heard of it. She asked me if I was doing it. I'm like, doing what?
Nanny Swaymo. It's National Knit a Sweater in a month of November. So I am going to try to knit a sweater in a weekend. Like one weekend of November. I want to do it this weekend, but I might not have enough of the yarn that I want to do that in. It's the Good Karma Funky Music yarn, and I called the farm today, and he might do another dye lot of that yarn, and if he does, he'll let me return what I have, purchase the 7th skein that I need, and that way I'll have them all in the same dye lot. So sweet. Like, amazing that he'll let me do that. Only because I haven't caked it yet. It's still in the skeins. So I'm calling him in the morning to see if he has one. He might have some that they're using in a farmer's market tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to get one from that. If I don't, then I'm probably just going to try it. I don't want him to dye a whole thing of that just for me. I would feel awful. So, that might happen this weekend. I don't know. So that would be my dream. My craved nuts. Nut dish. Products. We're over an hour. I'm going to be putting a lot on the chopping block this episode. Nut dish. Product reviews or products that you recommend. Other than what you've shown already. Anything
other than
else?
what I've shown already? I don't think there is anything other than what I've shown already.
I brought this in because I showed the one, and now I can't find the one that I haven't used yet.
So you can show the one you have used.
I've got to show the one I have used. But these little suckers, this is from, what's it called? Three Blue Birds. They are Swedish dishcloth, and you can use them as paper towels or whatever. Mine have got coffee stains all over it because I really wanted to put it to the test. So I cleaned off the hot plate on my coffee maker, which was a hot mess, and it's quite messy. But I've used this for everything so many times, and I just dunk it in dishwater, dish soap, and squeeze it out. So I am going to run it through the dishwasher and see if that stain will come out. And we'll see if it holds up. But it's held up pretty darn good. I mean, that still looks, it's not dirty. I mean, it smells good and everything.
Yeah, you can still see the
There's
print
no-
and everything. It hasn't worn off. That's
I mean, I've used it for counters, spills. I cleaned the stove, the stovetop with it. And, I mean, I haven't put anything but regular Dawn dish soap to wash it out. And it doesn't, sometimes like your dishcloth will get moldy, like musty, that
funky
sink,
smell.
that funky sink, dirty dishwater smell.
Yep. Nope.
Nothing. Nothing. It smells good. I know you don't want to stick your nose on that, but it smells good.
Well, I think the reason that your dishcloths get that way is because they don't get a chance to air out.
Yeah, they don't dry all the way.
That and letting it air.
And it's such an airy fabric that it dries so completely.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation, my product recommendation. I do have a book recommendation. I listen to a lot of Audible books or podcasts and things while I'm working. And I recently listened to Minding Frankie by Maeve Binchy. I've been a Maeve Binchy fan for a long time. A girl at work gave this book to me many, many moons ago. Maeve Binchy Quintins. And her books are set in usually like a small Irish community. So it's a lot, there she is. Nice. Pretty lady. So it's a lot of like Irish and community and like that whole small town feel kind of thing. And Minding Frankie is a great book about how the community kind of gets together and supports raising Frankie. So I won't give away the book, but it was really, really nice, and mind your tissues at the end of the book, because you will have to have tissues. It is a long listen if you're going to Audible or Kindle, like listen to it. It's like a 12-hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long, but it's so worth it. Her character development is just crazy good. So that's my book recommendation. You have any other products or recommendations, Julie, from the Nut Dish?
I just finished listening to Knitlandia by Clara Parks.
I did too, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I liked the idea. I've got the book, but I liked the idea of her reading me the book.
Yes.
I thought that added a nice touch.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it. So that's it for recommendations. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Northeast Fiber Festival?
Phew, yeah. I wish I could remember how many vendors they had there. I cannot remember, but it's a big show. It's at the, is it actually called the Big E Fairgrounds? Like, have to look. But anyway, they have a huge area with vendors. I know there were over 500, because Dun Roving was like 504 or something was their booth number, and they were not in the last row, so it was over 500 vendors, I believe. And they also have lots of fleeces. They have some animals there, but not a whole lot. They do have a food court there, which my mom went crazy because they have kraut dogs.
Oh, wow.
So she had to have her kraut dog. They had lamb stew and lamb chili, so I had lamb chili that was delicious.
I'll bet.
Let's see, what else did we have there? Oh, I can't remember the guild or the entity's name, but every year there is this authentic, almost like reenactment group, and they have a lot of the tools that are there, like looms and spindles and things like that. Some of them are authentic, and they do demonstrations with those things. There was one lady there that has a, darn, she told me the name of this too, huge loom that just like sets up against the wall. That's the way weaving was always done, is just a big loom set up against the wall. And she was demonstrating that, and she had all sorts of information about it. She just knew everything there was about weaving, what time periods it was prolific in. She was talking about how there were woven fabrics found not long ago in the mucky muck of some river or lake or something, and the way it had been covered by the silt and everything, the fabric was preserved
Intact?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they dated that way back from before when they thought weaving actually started.
Wow.
So wherever they had thought that weaving came into existence, it was long before that.
Wow.
She had done all sorts of maths about how long it took to shear the sheep and skirt the wool and scour the wool and card the wool and comb the wool and spin the wool. And she said if she had I'll call it a frock, I'm not sure what you'd actually call it, but that garment that she had on, she had calculated out how many hours it would take, would have taken back then with them using their rudimentary tools and everything. It was hundreds of hours.
Wow.
To just make one garment.
Wow.
So that's why a lot of times you had the different like factions in a community where you would have the ribbons and the adornments and things like that on the garments, and then other people just had a garment that they wore, and they mended and they wore and they mended and made do with that one garment, because it was a huge investment of time to have anything else, and only the wealthy couldn't afford all those adornments and things.
Huh.
So it was really interesting. And I know I went the last time that we went to the festival and was just entranced by them.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time. In fact, Mom left me. she gave up on
got
me.
bored. Mom got bored.
Yeah, she gave up on me.
I'm gonna go find something sparkly. Sorry, Ma. You know it's true.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a really nice festival. It's all right there in that one building, so there's not a lot of walking all over the place to find
getting
things.
lost.
Yep.
Cool.
So
I definitely gotta go next year.
yes,
Definitely.
and I went and stayed overnight this time, which the last one I went to was Mom, my daughter Cassie, and me, and we didn't stay. We struck out early and we spent all of Saturday, but you do need both days, I think, to
Yeah.
be able to see it all and really not have to rush and not see everything.
All right. Well, thank you for that update on the Fiber Festival, Julie. I wish I had gone. It sounds like a heck of a lot of fun. I will go
You
next
will
time.
go next time.
So we did recently launch a new Ravelry group for the podcast. So you will find our Ravelry group at NuttyKnittySisters on Ravelry. Just click on the groups icon at the top or option at the top and then search for us there under that name. And we have some people who joined already. We haven't even announced it yet. We have people joining. I love it. So I'm going to do the shout outs for the people who have joined us. There is April Carpenter in Oklahoma, Crafty Krabby Knits in Michigan, Knit Tricia 78 in Auckland, New Zealand, Colson 111322 in California, N. Bierney. I didn't have a location on them, but welcome. Snowteston in Michigan, and Sparky 136 in Alabama. So thank you everybody for joining our Ravelry group. We really appreciate it. We've got a welcome thread. So definitely, if you haven't yet, give us a shout in that welcome link. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you like about the podcast or what you'd like to see on the podcast. If there's something you'd like us to include that we're not already. We really want that to be a really fun, open, and inclusive community. So we love to hear your voices. There's another post on there about the Knitted Christmas Bauble Appeal, which is to support the Shetland MRI project. And we're going to post a video here about that as well. We would love to include your baubles for this project in our box that we're going to be shipping over at the end of the month. So what they're doing is they're collecting these knitted baubles that will be displayed in their window, and then they'll be sold online, and the proceeds from the sale of those baubles will go to the MRI project. So we'd like to send a box over if we can get the donations by November 30th, and we're going to send that over. That'll help you guys save on international shipping to ship to us instead, and then we will pay the international shipping to get it to them. We don't have an address for you to ship them to yet. We're trying to get a P.O. box opened. But our post office has ridiculous hours.
Yeah.
They're open from like 8 to 11 and then 12 to 2. And we work, and it's ridiculous to try to get there. So as soon as we get that established, we will launch a video here on our channel that will give you more detail about the Bauble project and have an address for you to send your projects too. So get knitting those baubles, get them ready, and as soon as we get an address, then you can ship them to us and we will ship them to Ireland. So I think that's about it. Julie, do you have anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. So thanks so much for joining us today.
We really appreciate you spending your time with us.
To follow us individually on social media, where can we find you, Julie?
I'm Jules Larrabee on Ravelry and Larrabee Julie on Instagram.
And I'm Nana's House 15 on Ravelry and Nana's _House 15 on Instagram. So until next time, stay nutty and keep knitting. Bye.